Hi, I'm immigration attorney Karen Winston. My office is in Jacksonville, Florida, and I am excited to talk to you today about what you can do now to prepare for comprehensive immigration reform. So today is actually Inauguration Day. At noon, in just a couple hours, we're going to see President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris become President and Vice President of the United States. They have promised sweeping immigration reform. They have indicated that they would be making more announcements on this today and actually introducing their bill today. But it's going to take some time for that bill to pass through Congress, go through certain changes and amendments, and have everybody's input in it. And so it may be some time before you are actually able to apply for reform or for benefits under the new legislation. However, there are things that you can do now to get ready for it. And that's what I really wanted to talk to you about today, so you can maybe get a head start on your case. And I'll give you an overview about the reform, what we expect to see from it. I have to say that the specifics have not been released. The only details that are known are sort of broad categories of people who may qualify, but we don't have the specifics yet. Nevertheless, this is promised to be sweeping immigration reform that would hopefully bring help in the form of lawful status and work authorization to the large undocumented population living in the United States that's estimated at over 12 million people. So a very exciting day here for us, a very hopeful day for this country, and I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you about this today. So first of all, what does the plan seem to include? Who does it include? So we'll say that there's three major groups of people that have been identified. So persons who already have DACA status or who already have temporary protected status, TPS. We're going to talk about them separately. And then the other group is really to be included is the undocumented population. So people who have no no lawful status in the United States. Regarding TPS holders and DACA holders, the promise is that they would be able to go from that status right to green card holder. Of course, there would probably be an application process involved, perhaps security checks, fingerprints, background, and that sort of thing, but a way for people who have the current status of temporary protected status or deferred action to transition to permanent resident. Okay, so that's great, wonderful news, and we're very hopeful about that. The second group, a really large group of people, of a really broad sweeping legislation, is going to include people who have no status in the United States, or commonly referred to as the undocumented population. This would be where, for example, somebody doesn't have any form of status, but they meet requirements such as criminal background clearances, not having certain immigration violations. There have been no details released yet about what specific immigration violations or criminal convictions or criminal issues might prevent somebody from applying for this status, or whether there would be a waiver or different kinds of waivers available. Those are the kinds of details that we're going to learn about in the next coming weeks and months. In the meantime, however, we can anticipate that there will be some of those bars in place, and one specific requirement they have mentioned is that the applicant would need to have been present in the U.S. since January 1st, 2021. There may be an additional presence requirement. They may require that you've been here for 5 years, or some presence requirement, but right now the only date that we're aware of or that they have disclosed is that you have to show you were present in the U.S. at least on January 1st, 2021. one. So what can you and your family do to get ready for this opportunity to obtain lawful status in the United States? And there's a few things that you can do. Number one, if you've ever had any application filed with immigration or any encounter with immigration, whether it was at the border or following an arrest or an interview at an airport, whatever that interaction was, if you've had any contact with immigration, including having contact with immigration as a child where you may not know the details, your family told you about the details, it would be very good to go ahead now and request your entire file from immigration. This is done through Freedom of Information Act requests. They generally take several months to process. We expect with comprehensive immigration reform that many people will be rushing to get these records from immigration. So this is a great place that you can get a head start. You can get your Freedom of Information Act requests filed now with the different agencies. In our office, we typically file them with the Executive Office for Immigration Review, which is the Immigration Court, with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and with the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and then also with Customs and Border Protection when somebody has had contact with immigration, typically at the border. And we're looking for specific records with that helps give us as immigration attorneys the same information that immigration has about a person's case. And so we're able to answer questions much more specifically and also see what exactly is in the file, is in the person's previous immigration history, and that can be a big benefit to the person. The second most important thing that you could do early is if you've had any contact with law enforcement, even if it's a speeding ticket, to go ahead and get that information. So to get certified copies of that information and evidence that it's been resolved, evidence the issue has been resolved. Sometimes people can have a warrant and not know that they have a warrant. For example, if you had a ticket and maybe a speeding ticket and maybe didn't completely understand the information that was shared with you, then you maybe didn't realize that you had to go to court, or that you just mailed in your payment, but you didn't know you had to be there. There could be a warrant issue that you may never know about until you apply for immigration benefit or until you do a background screening and it comes up on your background. So very important, if you've ever had any contact with law enforcement, whether it's state or federal, and even if it's just for driving offenses, we definitely recommend getting all of those records. That's something our office regularly does. In conjunction with that, we also suggest doing an FBI fingerprint-based background report. That will give you the same information that immigration has. We call it an FBI background report, and it's done through searching your fingerprints throughout the United States. If you've ever been fingerprinted before, it's supposed to come up on that report. And sometimes just having the report that shows that there's no history, that can be just as beneficial as a report that shows, yes, this person had a minor arrest in 1992 for driving without a license and it was ultimately dismissed. So it can show you what is there, the FBI background report, but another major benefit of it is it can show that there is nothing there, okay? That there are no encounters with law enforcement. And so that can be helpful too. So those are probably the top two things that we recommend. You also can obtain your tax transcripts from the IRS. If you have a social security number, your valid social security number, then you can obtain your tax transcripts. It's not hard to do. You can go online and do that pretty easily. It does not work for persons with just an ITIN, a tax identification number, so we're not recommending it in that situation. but that may be helpful to go ahead and try to get where you have a Social Security, if you want to get your tax transcripts to show that you've been paying taxes for a few years. Typically, people who have a Social Security card are people who have been issued at a minimum work authorization, and that's what gets that Social Security number. And so it has to be a valid Social Security number for that information to be helpful. So there are steps that you can do, even though there's going to be a time period here between now and when the law is passed. There's going to be, it could be months before the bill is finalized and before applications are available and the forms are developed. But there are many things that you and your family can do in the meantime, and we're excited to help you with those things if you would like. Our office is available to answer your questions and consult with you individually about your case. Our number is 904-723-4570. You can also schedule a consultation with myself or one of our other immigration attorneys online by going to our website, www.kwinstonlaw.com, where you can easily pay for and schedule your consultation ahead of time. Everybody in the office speaks Spanish as well, and so they'd be able to assist you in your family members in that language if that's your preference.